All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's try to compartmentalize the info now, get it out as fast as possible. So I want to go to calls here in just a few minutes with both of our guests. Finishing up how they force the GMO into countries, how it devastates the people. Even where it's illegal, they run what I would call, what the news call, intelligence operations to go in and secretly plant this stuff in research facilities.
Absolutely. I want to say that there is a famine predicted by very, very intelligent folks looking at what's happening to our food supply. I've posted an article on our Health Freedom blog called The Famine of 2009. If anybody in America thinks that we're not reaping that whirlwind, as you said, wait until their plates are empty and there are food riots, because that's where we're going, unless we start growing our own. And yes, Panama has been contaminated, Brazil, New Zealand was contaminated, even though it was a GMO-free zone by national decree or by national law. The U.S. shipped genetically modified corn and wheat to New Zealand for 3 years before they, quote, discovered the mistake, end quote.
And this is key.
New Zealand is growing pharmaceutical cows whose milk and meat delivers drugs.
And they're now putting cross-species pigs, mixing them. I just saw this in the BBC a few weeks ago, that have had human genetics added to them, so the body parts that can be used, valves and things, won't be rejected. They're now saying it's safe for us to eat cloned food, milk from cloned cows, and to eat cows that are part human. Speak to that. I mean, the nightmare just goes on. And then General Stubblebine, chemtrails.
Well, the chemtrails are another phenomena that's being used to, essentially poison all of the folks that are going to be subjected to wherever the chemtrails finally, or the pieces of the chemtrails finally land. These things, you can see them. Normally, if you look up in the sky and you see an airplane and a little a fume or a plum comes out of the rear, that normally is a contrail, and it disappears. So you hold up your fingers about 2 inches, and that should disappear. These are not contrails; they are chemtrails, and they do not disappear. The plane will fly all the way across from horizon to horizon, putting out these chemical toxins. That essentially then fall to the ground, fall to the earth. And what do? You breathe them.
Sir,
you breathe this stuff. And furthermore, what they do is they crisscross, so it looks like a tic-tac-toe up in the sky, or a set of tic-tac-toes up in the sky. And obviously what they're trying to do is to inundate an entire country, or inundate an entire area with these toxic materials that you then breathe. You then get the diseases that they want you to get, and you die.
Well, I was going to
talking about deformed genetic material, partial red blood cells, virus,
aluminum,
aluminum,
barium,
beryllium.
Aluminum does not belong in your body.
Well, let me add just something briefly here, because it's so important. I'm sure you guys know about this, but in case you don't, I've now learned in the last year, they call it, these aerosol spraying programs in hundreds of universities, Department of Energy and others. They admit, but they don't call it chemtrails, that it is secret programs for testing the weather and doing other things and to test global warming. They admit that they are doing it now. And the reason they had to do it was so many government people who were compartmentalized were asking and confirming and testing that they had to come out and admit. And now it's in high school textbooks that, oh, yes, they're spraying that as a sunscreen for the earth and claiming it's weather modification. But, I mean, I'm just throwing that out. Your take on that?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what they tell you.
One of the reasons that we're in Panama is that there are no chemtrails. Now, General Stubblebine and I have seen a chemtrail here in the highlands of Panama, but it was over Costa Rica. There are no chemtrails in Panama. And we believe that that's because of a very intentional decision that the elite have decided that there are going to be enclaves where they foolishly think that they can separate the damage they're doing from the earth from where they live.
Yeah, why has Bush bought all this land in Paraguay? Why is Dick Cheney moving to Dubai?
Is he moving to Dubai? I missed that one.
Yeah, he bought a big house there and dumped his dollars.
Probably because there's no extradition. But in Paraguay, the piece of land that the Bush family bought, Jenna Bush bought for the family, is situated directly over the world's largest freshwater aquifer.
And water is going to be another issue that because there's not going to be enough water to go around.
Good God, I want to go to some phone calls here. General, when did you, with all your training, all your study, when did it finally click that it, because you said this last time you were on a year ago, when did it finally click that it's eugenics? When did you find, and then what was it like when all the intelligence, all the data finally went boom and popped out at you?
Well, I didn't notice it when I was on active duty because I was too busy believing, doing, and working, and I really believed in what I was doing, so I wasn't paying any attention to the picture that I now see. However, about 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago, suddenly all of the dots, just like you and I were talking earlier about suddenly the dots don't just appear to be dots. Suddenly there's a picture that just sort of jumps out of the screen and hits you in the face, and you say, "Oh my God, what the hell is this?" And then you say, "No, it can't be true." And you try to make it go back into the screen, and it won't. And so it pops out again. You say, "All right, it's real. Now, what do I do about it?" And so this occurred after I retired, this sudden realization that all of the things that I believed in, all of the things that I fought for my country were a bunch of baloney. I've been sold a bill of goods and been duped. And, incidentally, it's very, very difficult to admit that did not see it at the time, that you were duped, that you've been taken for a ride, and that all of this was going on even way back when.
Well, it's all compartmentalized. Well, it's all compartmentalized.
Okay.
It's all compartmentalized, sir, as you know, so you're certainly not guilty. You would be guilty if you then figured it out and then didn't do something. Let's jam in some final calls here for our amazing guest. Sean in Washington, you're on the air with Major General Stubblebine and Dr. Laibow. Go ahead.
Is this General Albert Stubblebine III?
Yes, it is. Go ahead, sir. You got a question or comment?
Yeah, I want to ask him a question. Were you the head of U.S. Army intelligence in SCOM at Fort Meade in 1981 and 84 with General Aquino? Were you his CO? Were you also a director or head of psychotechnology?
Well, hold on, sir. Your phone's echoing. Just talk slow so we can understand you.
I can't understand the word he said.
I heard something about were you the director of intelligence, and then you have to talk clearly, sir.
Okay, I'll say again. Were you the director of U.S. Army intelligence in SCOM between 1981 and 1984 at Fort Meade, Maryland?
Yes.
Were you also a director or head of Psychotronics, Inc., which produced non-lethal psychotronic or developed weapons for the Army?
Psychotronics? No.
Did you also run the GOAT lab at Fort Bragg, North Carolina?
Well, he talked about that earlier. No, he said he passed that information on.
No. The answer to that's no.
I guess I find this gentleman highly uncredible, given that you ran an Army intelligence unit in the 80s working with Michael Aquino, who started OTO, the Temple of Set, runs a satanic cult.
Okay, well, let's talk about Aquino, and then I'm going to let you go. Did you work with that Aquino character?
Aquino? I don't remember. No, that doesn't ring a bell.